A fragment of truth in an old journal. Just a note, but it changes everything they thought they knew. It says the paintress is not a god, but a mother with a broken heart.
Wow. Okay, that completely reframes her, doesn't it?
Totally. It humanizes the source of all the suffering, shifts it from, some cosmic evil to something deeply personal, born from sorrow.
But what kind of grief does this? How does a broken heart lead to erasing people based on age?
So many questions.
Exactly.
It is. And here they meet Chief Gogura. He offers them safe passage, but there's a catch.
Always a catch.
They have to prove their strength and resolve in a dueling tournament.
A tournament. Okay. So more of that deadly dance combat.
Yep. Intense one-on-one challenges. Visually spectacular, apparently. And it's through one of these duels, showing off her skills, that Skill officially joins the core group.
Ah, so she wasn't fully committed before.
Seems like she proved her worth, but yeah, her personal quest, that vendetta against the paintress, still feels like this powerful, unspoken thing driving her.
Got it. So...
And speaking of hope, after winning the tournament, they gain another ally. A big one, Esquire. A magnificent giant bird who joins them and grants them the ability to fly and swim.
Whoa, okay. That opened things up considerably. New areas accessible now.
Big time, which they immediately need because their path takes them straight to the Stonewave Cliffs.
Stonewave Cliffs. Doesn't sound inviting.
Not at all. Sounds oppressive. Frozen stone waves, captured mid-crash, dark mist everywhere, littered with wreckage from past attempts, and new disturbing creatures like the Lampmaster.
Sounds grim. But is that the main challenge there?
No. The real terrifying force they encounter at the cliffs is Renoir.
Does it really matter?
Well, like I always say, it's not about the rock. It's more about...
Gustav.
Run.
Renoir. Like the painter.
Well, he certainly looks the part. White-haired, piercing eyes like he stepped out of an Impressionist painting. But his power is immense. Overwhelming.
How so? What does he do?
He doesn't just fight with painted creatures. He paints reality itself. Wields a gigantic paintbrush like a weapon, summoning living paintings to attack them. He's like the creative power of the world, but twisted into something malicious.
Okay, that's a major escalation. A living painting fighting with living paintings.
And it's here, facing Renoir's sheer artistic power, that something truly heartbreaking happens.
Oh no, why that?
As Renoir unleashes this devastating attack, Gustave, the engineer, driven by losing Sophie, he makes the ultimate sacrifice, throws himself in front of the blast to save the team.
No.
And just like Sophie, like everyone taken by the gomage, he turns into white petals. Scatters on the wind. Gone.
Oh man, Gustave. The weight of that moment must have been immense.
Yeah, it's brutal. A visceral reminder of the curse's power, how personal this fight is. Miles' reaction looms.
It binds them together though, right? In grief, but also resolve.
Absolutely. It hardens their determination. The stakes just got even higher. The cost of failure is etched right into their hearts now.
Wow. Okay, so Gustave's gone. Who steps up?
Well, in the wake of that loss, a new figure joins the grieving group. Verso.
Who's he?
A young man. Sad eyes, quiet, carries his own air of mystery that starts to unfold later. With him and with Esquire letting them fly and swim, they push into new regions.
Like where?
Like the Forgotten Battlefield, somber place, a graveyard of ancient painted wars, haunted by skeletal warriors, painted foes like the duelists.
Sounds cheerful.
Right, but it's here they gain another unusual ally, Monoko.
Monoko, what's that?
A strange living puppet, apparently. They recruit him after beating this tough creature called Stellact. And Monaco's combat style is totally unique, focuses on chaining enhanced skills. Adds a new strategic layer.
A puppet fighter. Okay, this team is getting really diverse.
Their journey eventually leads them back, sort of, to Old Lumiere.
Old Lumiere, like a past version.
Yeah, not the vibrant city they left. A desolate, frozen-in-time version, haunting echo of the past. And they face Renoir here again.
What does he say this time?
His words get even more cryptic, more unsettling. He suggests Lumiere itself is just a canvas, and they, the characters, just colors on the painter's brush.
Whoa, that's meta. Shakes the foundation of their reality.
Right. And pushing past his cons, their path takes them through the veils of joy, sadness, and anger.
Landscapes mirroring her emotions.
Exactly. You literally walk through her feelings. And the bosses in each veil, Mosinus in joy, Chapelier in sadness, Bouchelier in anger, feel like manifestations of those emotions, twisting the environment.
That's intense, exploring someone's raw feelings like that.
And exploring these veils is also where a lot of the world's history and personal tragedy gets revealed, not just through the main path, but through really rich side content. Finally, this relentless journey leads them to the heart of the curse, the towering stone monolith temple itself.
Inside the monolith.
Inside. And the walls aren't just stone, they're covered in living paintings, dynamic murals unfolding before their eyes, recounting the entire history of Lumiere creation, prosperity, the curse arriving, the world telling its own story.
Wow, okay. And then, the paintress.
Deep within, surrounded by living history, they finally confront the source, the paintress. And she's revealed not as some monster, but as Aline, a young woman, eyes filled with unimaginable sorrow.
Aline, so the truth comes out. What is the truth?
It's devastating. Lumiere, this entire painted world, it's not just a fantasy realm, it's a vast, elaborate canvas she created.
Why? To what end?
To preserve the memory of her son, Verso. Not the painted Verso they met, but her real son, who died years ago in a tragic fire.
A fire. In the real world.
In the real world.
Yeah.
Paris, 1906. Aline is a genuine painter from that time, consumed by grief, who somehow gained the power to paint reality itself.
And Renoir, the antagonist.
He was initially a creation based on the actual painter, Pierre-Auguste Renoir, meant to be a companion, an artistic guide. But he got corrupted by her grief, started exploiting her pain for his own control within the canvas.
So this whole epic quest, it's really about confronting a mother's overwhelming grief, bleeding from our world into this painted one.
Exactly. It completely reframes everything. But the confrontation with Aline, it isn't the end. It's a final, heartbreaking ruse.
How so?
She doesn't fight them herself. Instead, she sends them deeper into the canvas, into the core of her pain, to face her heart, the painted spirit of her lost son, Verso.
Oh, wow. Face the grief itself, embodied.
Right. And while the group prepares for this final challenge inside the collapsing canvas, and beside her is Alicia.
Alicia? Wait, is that?
That's Maëlle, her real-world self. Mute since the fire that killed Verso, traumatized but desperately trying through frantic gestures, sketches to break through Aline's obsession, urge her to let go, accept his death, return to reality.
So Maëlle's presence in the painted world is somehow connected to Alicia trying to reach Aline in the real world. The fates are tied.
Deeply. So the group's final journey inside the canvas takes them through these unraveling landscapes, fields of transient flowers, surreal gardens, and finally this grand, ethereal opera house, facing enemies that feel like creation tearing itself apart, things called creation.
And Renoir, is he dealt with?
Their path leads to the opera house for one last visually spectacular fight with him. He's still got his giant brush, summoning stronger living paintings.
But the group's stronger now too, right? After everything.
Exactly. Forged by loss, experience, they use their combined skills, their synergy, like Maëlle and Minako working together to finally overwhelm him.
And does he have any last words? Any insight?
As he dissolves into paint, yeah. He reveals he wasn't just evil, he was also a victim, consumed, twisted by Aline's grief, trapped in the canvas like everyone else. Another layer of tragedy.
But the real challenge is still Verso's spirit.
At the heart of the opera house, a final duel awaits. And Maëlle, who stepped up after Gustave's sacrifice, has to make the agonizing choice, who faces the embodiment of Aline's grief.
And this choice, it changes everything, right? Leads to different endings.
Each determines the fate of Lumiere, Aline, the group, and tragically who lives and who dies. It really hammers home those themes of sacrifice and consequence.
Okay, let's break them down. What's the first possibility if Maëlle fights?
If Maëlle chooses herself. This is the Lumiere rebuilt ending, kind of a bittersweet victory.
How so?
The canvas is preserved, Lumiere is rebuilt, the Gamage curse stops, the painted world is saved. But in the real world, Aline remains trapped in her grief, safe but still lost, painting new canvases, unable to fully connect with Alicia Maëlle. Lumiere feels like an illusion, almost.
And the cost. Who's lost?
Gustave is definitely dead from his earlier sacrifice. And depending on choices, skill might also be gone. Renoir's defeated, but there's a hint he could return as long as Aline stays trapped by her art.
Okay, so save the world, but the root cause isn't fully healed. What if Verso fights himself?
If the painted Verso fights the spirit Verso, this is the canvas destroyed ending, a tragic victory.
Tragic how?
The confrontation makes the whole painted canvas collapse. Lumiere, the creatures, everything fades to darkness. Gone. A devastating loss for that world.
There must be an upside.
The upside is in the real world. This act allows Aline to finally confront her son's death. She puts down her paintbrush, begins to accept, finds solace with Alicia Mail. It's tragic for the painted world, but liberating for the real people.
And the cost here, besides the world itself.
Gustave is dead. The painted Verso is erased. And depending on events, Lune or Monoko might be lost in the collapse.
Wow. Preserve the artificer, destroy it for human healing. Heavy choices.
Mail gets a different choice. She can sacrifice herself. This is the male sacrifice ending.
She becomes part of the painting.
Exactly. She becomes a painting within the canvas, part of its structure. She saves both the painted world and Aline.
How does that save Aline?
In the real world, Aline witnesses this ultimate act of love and letting go from Alicia Mail, and it finally allows her to accept her grief. Lumiere is reborn, free of the Gamache curse, truly beautiful now, but carrying Mail's essence.
So, the most complete resolution. Freeing Aline and saving Lumiere. But the cost.
The highest personal cost. Both Gustave and Maël are dead. The surviving group members, their journey over, disband. Their legacy lives on in the new, brighter Lumiere.
Wow. That's incredibly heavy. Grief, love, memory, sacrifice, the power of art. These aren't just themes sprinkled in. They're lived, decided in those final moments.
So what does this all mean for you, listening right now? Why did we spend this time deep diving into a world literally painted by grief? Because this story, through its characters, its devastating endings, it's a profound look at how we process loss. It makes you look at the lines between reality and the worlds we create internally or externally just to cope. And it asks those gut-wrenching questions. What's the power and the cost of holding on versus letting go?
Yeah, and if we connect this to the bigger picture, those multiple endings aren't just different outcomes. They're like different philosophies played out. What is the nature of memory? Is preserving a painful past, even if you make it beautiful, worth the destruction it causes now?
Yeah.
Do we have a right to trap others in our grief? The outcomes raise huge questions about creation, liberation.
And it makes you ask yourself, doesn't it? Looking at those endings, especially the sacrifices Gustave, Maël, Verso, maybe others who sacrifice feels the most meaningful.
And meaningful for whom? That's the tricky part. For the group, for Aline, for the painted world itself.
It's a thought that definitely lingers.
It really does.
And here's where it gets really interesting. Given that this entire beautiful, tragic world was born from such intense, unresolved grief, can something beautiful that comes from such profound sorrow ever truly be free of its sadness? Or is the very act of creation, in a story like this anyway, inherently, maybe inextricably, tied to our most desperate attempts to defy loss? Something to ponder.